Hi, Chris. I know we spoke to Coach Kiffin about this as well, but you've been known as kind of a recruiter over the past couple of years and a good one at that. How has the coronavirus kind of affected that process for you over the past couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had to adapt, right, on the way we do things. We're people person, type of guys, and we're used to talking to guys on the phone, but we're also used to getting that relationship to the point where we can see them face to face, we can get them on campus and all that. So for a new staff, it's been a little difficult because we've had really we had one initial visit in early February, and then it all ended. So we've had to adapt a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of just more actual phone calls than you even normally would have now, because they actually open it up where we can call and you're not limited to the amount of calls. So it's been, we've had to adapt. We've had to kind of, form these relationships and these bonds completely over the phone or over Zoom, which is different from what we've done. But we're just it's the same, man. I mean, you got to get to know people and what they want and get them to be able to see the program and understand what we're trying to do. Hopefully when we start playing here, we can get them to watch and see what we're going to try to do. Mission, having them miss spring ball, that's a huge recruiting time where they can watch you coach on the field and watch the schemes unfold. The stuff that you've been telling them. They can come in and watch them unfold. So, we've kind of been in a holding pattern with that, but when we start playing, hopefully we can get them to at least watch, those schemes unfold and what we're going to ask the players to do when we're recruiting them. But same, I mean, it's still all about relationships. We're just forming them in a different way.
Okay, Nick, go ahead.
Speaking of adapting, Chris, is there anything different or difficult about coaching with the COVID protocols in place, or is kind of things same as for you?
Yeah, I mean, it is different. I'm not going to sit here and say it's difficult. I mean, it is what it is. Everyone's dealing with it. But it is different. We're way more spread out. We're not even using our meeting rooms. We got to use different spaces. We got to make sure masks are on. We got to learn how to have a meeting with a mask on as a coach. So there is things that are different and probably harder than normal than what we're used to. But, I think the coaches and the players that adapt to the best to this and understand that this is the way of life for this season are the ones that are going to be most successful. So, you just can't complain about it. You just gotta, you gotta do it to keep the players safe. And so they understand you're keeping them safe and just figure out how to get the message across in different ways.
Okay, Nate, go ahead.
Coach, you got a lot of returning players in that secondary, but it's a secondary that's kind of struggled, especially against the pass for the last few years. How do you kind of balance like experience versus kind of getting them to play better, even though they are experienced?
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure out what are the little things that they can do better, the experienced guys. I know Jalen Jones, Kedron, John Haynes have played a lot of football here. And, personally and as a defense, we really dove into who they were on the field in the past. Not scheme-wise, but like who they were in terms of leveraging the football, playing the ball, man-to-man, where were their eyes, all those little things. And then show them a plan on how we're going to improve them, even though they are experienced. And I think that's benefited. I think those guys are doing a great job adapting to what we're going to ask them to do and how we're going to change them outside of the scheme. And then you add the scheme into it and try to make them understand, why they're doing certain things in the new scheme and to understand the weaknesses and the strengths of the calls that are going to be made. We got some good young guys that have experience, right, that got on the field. AJ Finley, Jay Stanley, Jalen Jordan, Ja'Cory Hawkins, all those guys got some time last year. It was minimal to some guys and it was a little more for other guys. But, again, same deal. We're building off of what they showed us and then what we're going to ask them to do and make them understand why the changes are happening and why we're asking them to do things.
Any other questions? Parrish, go ahead.
Hey, Chris, you again talking about the masks and adapting and whatnot, and DJ talked about catching himself trying to blow the whistle with the mask on and whatnot. How difficult is communicating? I mean, how difficult is it when the guys can't see you speak, can hear you, but maybe how different is that?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, I tried to eat an apple with the mask on just before I came in here. So the good thing, I'm getting used to having it up. So, but as you know, like I have my mask on here, you can't see my mouth, right? So, it's really, to me, it's slowing down when the mask on is, and you're talking, because it is a little harder. Your voice has to be raised. They got to make sure they hear you, and you got to slow yourself down at times. That's what I've found, and even with the players, they have their mask on. I ask them a question in meetings, I tell, hey, slow down, communicate louder, speak more clearly. We're dealing with a situation where it's not, we're never close face to face when we're talking anymore too. There's always a distance. There's always something covering your mouth. So, again, we've adapted. I mean, I feel pretty comfortable now, in how we're communicating with those guys and how they're communicating with us. I mean, it was a learning process as everything, but, I think we're to the point where, at least I'm comfortable and I feel like my group is comfortable in what we're asking them to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions for Coach? All right, Neil, go ahead.
Hey, Chris, I hate to go back to recruiting again, but I'm curious. I know you can't control this or predict it, but in the event that the dead period goes all the way to the first signing day or even to the second signing day, does it change the way that you ultimately put together this class?
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Kiffin has given us a really good idea and really good vision of what he's looking for the class. And, and then we kind of go off of that. I really do think we're doing a good job in filling this roster. Now, we've gotten some guys that are transfers, right? But that's a way to fill the class, and it doesn't necessarily go on your recruiting, points or numbers. But those guys are really good football players that, whether they sit or play this year, are going to add to the roster that we're trying to do. So that's a way to adapt, right? Sometimes you're not going to take, just guys out of high school, and I think we're doing a really good job recruiting. We got some really good commits that we evaled and had high on our board that are with us now, or that have committed to us now. And, and we just gotta, if it does go all the way to the end, we got to adapt with it, and they got to understand, hey, you might have to commit to a school without ever being on campus, but we need to be the best to show them the campus, with them not without them being on the campus. I know a lot of recruits are now starting to visit campuses on their own when campus is open. Just taking a drive on the campus and whatnot. So that'll be something that I bet, a lot of guys are going to do, right? When they're close to committing, they have a 2 or 3 that they're down to. It's all about relationships. It's all about making them understand, showing them, Zoom video, what we're going to ask them to do, show them the campus, getting the academic people on with mom and dad. It's the way you go about presenting everything to them so they feel as comfortable as they can possibly feel without being on the campus and in front of you. And I think each coach needs to feel out who they're recruiting and make sure that happens. But yeah, it's going to be tough, and it's going to be a weird year, but everyone's dealing with it. We're not the only ones dealing with it. We just have to, try to adapt the best and be the best at dealing with the situation.
All right, Nick, go ahead.
Did you sense any rust or sloppiness more so than usual for a first practice, given that these guys didn't have a spring and it's been so long since they were on the field together?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, we were in this phase where we could have these walkthroughs, right? So twofold. That answer, I think, is twofold. I really liked the what we came off of. Normally, we are sitting here, and we're in summer, right? We haven't seen them as coaches. We haven't been with them for 6-7 weeks. And we come back this first day and we got to put the scheme in. Okay. And they got to understand the scheme as well as all the fundamentals. Well, coming into today, it's really a fundamental type thing because we had really been scheming with them for now the last 3 or 4 weeks, if that makes sense. So the install that we did today just repeated the install that we just had done. So it was like an OTA NFL model that we're in. I really like that. I don't want to speak for any other coach, but I think that was really good because like today, for instance, I'm going to speak about my guys. In the back end, we got detailed in the techniques, the fundamentals, and the details of some of the install, which normally it would have been more base because we wouldn't have had that. Now we were rusty, in terms of now we're going full speed for the first time, right? So now it's like, well, now the bullets are flying full speed. So, that's where the technique falls apart. That's where when you get into football shape, that stuff falls apart. So that's where the rust came, So it was kind of a different, it was different animal that we've ever been used to in the first day of camp, if that makes sense.
Any more questions for Coach? All right, James, go ahead.
I see the Jordan Brand logo, and I know you're coming from Michigan. Is there any chance that Ole Miss will be doing something with Jordan Brand in the future for football?
I mean, I can't comment. I mean, that's not my department at all. This is just an old shirt, and I was sweaty after practice. I threw it on. I mean, I don't know. That's a Coach Kiffin deal. I wouldn't say it's out of the question. But again, we're affiliated with Nike, and that's who we're with right now.